tuning into Sci-Fi TV, the viewer's guide to genre television for the weeks of August 28th to September 10th, 2021.
How did this happen? Where did it go? It should have been there last week's episode. I thought I was set up with my season pass. Now the new show is out, and I don't know what happened last week. How did my TiVo forget?
Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Brent Barrett.
I'm Kevin Batchelder.
And I'm Wendy Hembrock.
And I hope you all had a great break. I know that we did. If you attended Dragon Con like somebody on this panel here, I'm going to call it a panel in honor of Dragon Con. I hope you had a blast, but we might hear more from Kevin later.
Yep, kept some notes to catch folks up.
Yep, plenty of goodies from Kevin I'm hoping to hear.
All right, and before we head on to the spoiler-free water cooler, don't forget we do have a Discord. We want to remind you guys about that every episode. It's a free thing to use. You can use it from a web browser. You can install an app. It's on your phones, whatever, and access to our server. There's a link in our show notes, and that's free as well. When you join, just let us know you're there, and we'll grant you full access so you can see all the discussions going on. There's a lot of cool stuff happening, including listing your favorite doctors from Doctor Who.
And we're also talking about things beyond TV shows, like movies.
Yeah, lots of great different threads. We got different channels, so you can avoid spoilers. Trying to make it as comfortable a place as possible for everybody to have fun.
Absolutely. All right. Now it is time for that spoiler-free water cooler, so let's head on over.
Oh, hello there. It's Lee from Lasers and Lockets podcast, the bi-weekly, always nerdy podcast celebrating strong and complex female characters in science fiction and fantasy entertainment. Sound right up your alley? Join me as I sneak aboard spaceships, adventure with elves, and hunt artifacts threatening to ruin the world's day. Oh, and so much more. Get your nerd on and subscribe now on your favorite podcast app.
First up, we're going to give quick reviews of the shows that were on for the last 2 weeks, because we were gone for a while, from the 29th of August to the 10th of September. And we'll give them a rating of watch now, watch it soon, let it sit on the DVR, or you can skip it. And first up, we have Evil. Episode 7 of Season 2, S is for Silence, and Episode 8 of Season 2, B is for Brain, and I am not watching.
Neither am I.
And the first one I'm going to give a watch it soon. The second one I'm going to give a high watch it soon.
Awesome. All right. We also have Legends of Tomorrow, Episode 14 of Season 6, There Will Be Brood. Sorry, I was about to say the real title from the movie. Episode 15 of Season 6, The Fungus Among Us, which was the season finale. I'd give the first one actually a low-end watch it now. I really love that one, but the finale, I can only go watch it soon.
Interesting. Because I'll actually go watch it soon, high watch it soon.
Yeah, and I'm just going to go both of them watch it soon.
All right, real mix there. I guess you guys are going to have to watch it for yourselves if you haven't already and decide on your own. All right, moving on, we have Stargirl, Episode 4 of Season 2, Summer School, Chapter 4, and Episode 5 of Season 2, Summer School, Chapter 5. That's not really, original titles here, but okay. I'd give them both a watch it soon.
As would I.
I agree, watch it soon.
And from the Marvel streaming universe, we have What If, Episode 4 of Season 1, What If Doctor Strange Lost His Heart Instead of His Hands, and Episode 5 of Season 1, What If Zombies? I'm gonna give the first one a watch it now. I think it was one of the best, if not the best so far. And the second one, the Zombies one, I go low watch it now. It was really good. It was fun and entertaining.
I haven't seen these yet.
I agree, Doctor Strange, watch it now. Zombies, high watch it soon. That's
fair. All right. We also have, on the streaming world, Star Trek Lower Decks, Episode 4 of Season 2, Mugatu Gumatu, and Episode 5 of Season 2, An Embarrassment of Duplers. I would give both of them a watch it soon.
Not one I'm watching?
Yeah, I would agree, watch them soon.
All right, and we have The Outpost, Episode 8 of Season 4, The Pleasing Voice of the Masters. And Episode 9 of Season 4, The Price of Immortality, and I am not watching.
At least this has improved. They're both watch it soons.
I am not watching.
And we have What We Do in the Shadows. It's come back. This one is something that I really love. Episode 1 of Season 3, The Prisoner. Episode 2 of Season 3, The Cloak of Duplication. And Episode 3 of Season 3, Gale. I don't think it lost a beat at all. I was laughing out loud at this, and it's not a nonstop roller coaster laugh show, but it's pretty funny. I'd give the first one a low watch it now. I'd give the second one a high end watch it soon, and the third one a high end watch it soon.
Not one I watch anymore.
Yeah, I haven't seen these yet.
All right, and Surreal Estate, the sci-fi show on Fridays. Episode 8 of Season 1, Baba O'Reilly, and Episode 9 of Season 1, White Wedding. A couple of song titles there. I'm no longer watching.
First one would be a low watch it soon, and I haven't got to the second one yet.
Yeah, I would say they're both low watch it soon.
Alrighty, and to finish out, we have Rick and Morty came back for its season finale doubleheader. Episode 9 of Season 5, Forgetting Sarek Mortshall, and Episode 10 of Season 5, Rick Marai Jack, as in Samurai Jack. I would give the first one a high-end watch it soon. The finale, I'd have to say watch it now.
Not one that I watched, though.
Good, but I haven't seen them yet.
All right, and we also have Lucifer back for streaming on Netflix. We're only going to rate probably Episode 1 here because I think it's the only one we've all maybe seen. Episode 1 of Season 6, Nothing Ever Changes Around Here. I'd give it a high watch it soon.
Yeah, I've watched the first 2 so far. For the first one, I'd say, yeah, middle watch it soon to upper.
Yeah, I've only seen the first one. I would say high watch it soon. Good start.
Yes, absolutely. All right, we have a little bit of voicemail or feedback here. I guess that voicemail is a feedback from Mark Decote, and he wanted to talk about the musical Tuner Minute.
Hi guys and gal, Mark Decote here from the Expanse podcast Tales from the Rocinante, which you can find at solotalkmedia.com. I'm calling in about the Musical Memories Tuner Minute. I love a good opening theme song. I still catch myself singing the theme songs to Gilligan's Island or the Flintstones every once in a while for no apparent reason. But it's more than just the music that I like in a show's intro. Harking back to the Nuclear Family Fission Tuner Minute, MASH was one of those shows that was family viewing in our household. My dad loved the show, and he, my mom, and I would sit down every week to watch. Well, nowadays, if I'm flipping through the channels and stop on an episode of MASH that's just starting, I love that the intro, which has great music, by the way, also gives me an idea of where in the series this episode takes place. If I see scenes during the intro montage showing Henry Blake, Trapper John, and Frank Burns, I know it's an early episode. If it shows Colonel Potter, Honeycutt, and Charles Winchester III, I know it's a later episode. So longer intros are good for that sort of thing. But what I love is when the show uses their intro as a teaser for the episode. I'm in the middle of a Person of Interest rewatch right now, and even though the option pops up to skip the intro, I still watch it every time, because every so often they change it up. And I'm not only talking about the end of the intro in Person of Interest where they show a clip of who their number of the week is. For example, when Samaritan was brought online, the show's intro actually glitched halfway through. It started out with the standard intro with views shown from the machine's point of view, and then it glitched and switched to views from Samaritan. After seasons of hearing Harold Finch start the intro with, "You're being watched," imagine the shock when we heard those same lines uttered by a woman's voice, and then recognizing that this is Control speaking. I also remember Fringe, when they changed their intro to red for the first time instead of the standard blue we've been used to. Or the time Star Trek Enterprise played a mirror universe version of their intro. By the way, Star Trek Enterprise, the one theme song that I can live without. But anytime a show changes up their standard intro, they do something unique for a special episode. It makes us viewers sit up and take notice, knowing that, wow, if the showrunners, the directors changed up the intro, then we know we're in for something special for the episode we're about to watch. So when shows switch to the 3 to 5 second intro, they lost their ability to play with us viewers like that. I, for one, welcome back longer intros in our TV shows.
Well, thank you, Mark. That was fantastic. What a great little mini trip down memory lane on some of the shows and the ones that really took it seriously and such. That's an excellent point, too. Talking about your point about watching the intro, and therefore knowing for a show, where it might be in its run, which season or time frame at least, that brings to mind for me Buffy. They change those up each season. So that's the same way. You could tell, just give me that, and I can tell you which one of the seasons are pretty darn close to which one it was. And yeah, the really smart shows, the ones, Person of Interest and some of the others that took the time to do some things that made you want to pay attention. That's what you really appreciate. So yeah, the fact most of them have done away with it is a bit of a bummer. It does take that back. And even the fun ones like Gilligan's Island, let's say we're all lamenting, at least for broadcast stuff, right? At least the streaming is not as important anymore. So some of them are starting to bring it back maybe. So hey, maybe that's a good direction the pendulum's now going.
Yeah. Hey, Mark, that was great. And I liked your call out to the Person of Interest piece. Supernatural doesn't have a musical intro, but they would do things occasionally with their opening credit titles to call back to other shows. I'm thinking about they did like a very special episode. A lot of times when they would do homages. Your comments also made me think about the credits from the Battlestar Galactica reboot, because they would vary those up per episode. And of course, we talked about the Game of Thrones map changing regularly. So I hope that we continue to have some shows flex their creativity through their credits. And the nice thing about the world we live in today is you can watch them, or sometimes you can skip them. So that I appreciate in particular.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mark. Yeah, those great memories with your family and MASH. I love those sorts of things. And the different types of intros you talked about changing. And you reminded Wendy and myself about the BSG one, and how the last few notes of the BSG one would always be quick cut scenes from that episode. I thought that was just a really clever way to do it. Of course, it could potentially spoil things, but I think they did a fairly good job of trying to not do that. And also you talked about Fringe, how they would go to they went to the red titles, but I remember when they did the 80s episode, the flashback episode, and they had that 80s version of their theme song and intro, and I thought that was awesome as well. So thanks very much for the feedback. All right, next up, we're going to talk about some show renewals and stuff, and Wendy's first going to talk about Star Trek Picard.
Yes, we have a very nice trailer for season 2 of Star Trek Picard that I think folks will enjoy, especially if they were next-gen fans, as a very familiar character will be coming back, Q. And also, we already have the great news that season 3 has been renewed, so liking hearing that news as well.
Yeah, excellent news about the renewal. The trailer is interesting. I have concerns, but I'll hold on to those until it actually airs, so I don't get myself all worked up about it. But there's some aspects of it that are really cool looking, and hey, it has Jerry Ryan in it, so it can't be all that bad.
No, it was great to see the renewal news this early, and the trailer looked interesting to me. Again, the Star Trek Picard maybe isn't one of my favorite Star Treks, but I still enjoy it, and this one certainly helped to make me kind of go, ooh, that could be interesting if they pull this off well. So, definitely a couple of thumbs up from this guy.
All right, on the Star Trek theme, I'm going to continue with some Star Trek Prodigy and Star Trek Discovery premiere dates. As well as I think, I don't know if it was mentioned, but Star Trek Picard season 2 is going to hit Paramount Plus in February of 2022. So keep that in mind from the last topic. The animated show, which of course means Kevin won't see it, Star Trek Prodigy, was developed, with Nickelodeon, and it's going to be premiering on Paramount Plus on Thursday, October 28th. So that's the first one we have to look forward to if we're going to watch that. I'm going to check it out. I'm not so sure I'm going to be a faithful viewer of that one, but Season 4 of Star Trek Discovery. Season 3 started out really rough for me, so I'm hoping Season 4 will really pick up and get me back to the stuff that I loved about Season 2 especially. It's going to come on to Paramount Plus on Thursday, November 18th, so mark that on your calendars. We're going to mark it on ours.
Yeah, it was great to get that firm date for Discovery. Glad to see that. And as you'll see from some other news items, we're getting lots of dates for fall stuff, so very glad to see that. Looking forward to it. And I'm, very much like Brent. I want to bounce back to where we were in season 2, for Discovery, but fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's nice to get the date for Discovery. And also, as Brent mentioned, it sounds like, Discovery's going to end and Picard's going to start up fairly shortly afterwards. It sounds like there'll probably be a couple of weeks break, potentially. But looking forward to both.
That we are. Okay, we've got some Nancy Drew news, and the biggest fan of Nancy Drew out there, Kevin, is going to share it with us.
Well, Wendy and I watched the show for sure. I had some fun moderating a panel at DragonCon. Talk about that a little bit later, fan panel. But yeah, for Nancy Drew, we have two news items. Number one, we've got the season 3 trailer. What they're calling the season 3 trailer. That's the exact title. Not that long, meaning, it's right around a minute. Couple of cuts that we've seen that were from this current season, but definitely a few from the upcoming season. And it's very Nancy Drew-ish. If you've been watching the show at all, from the way the stories rotate to the bigger story arc that they usually weave through. We get some clips in there. So looking forward to that come middle of October timeline. The other news item has got the link in the show notes for. If you watched this most recent season, you'll know that we had an episode with Tom Swift. Kind of what most people might think of as a backdoor pilot. It was very much focused on him working with Nancy. Well, the CW announced that they've given a straight to series order for Tom Swift. So we will wait and see if this, like Nancy, has some genre items that might make us, have it on our list of shows. No idea whether or not yet. Tom kind of poked fun a little bit at some of the supernatural elements when he was on, but, so I guess we'll wait to see there. But a little bit more info on, who's involved in the creation of it and so forth there. So I think that's good news. It's got a chance, if it's in the same universe, obviously it could make for some fun, maybe crossovers, depending upon where he's going to be situated. Have to wait and see.
Yeah, I liked the introduction of the character. The episode he was in, he had good chemistry with Nancy. He definitely ruffled feathers, which I liked. And the trailer for Nancy Drew for season 3 was lots of fun. After I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, let's bring this on right now. Definitely looking forward to it coming back.
Yeah, I'm not a viewer of the show. However, as a youngster, I did read several books in the universe, Nancy Drew and all the others. And I said this last time because I think we talked about Tom Swift as a potential before. And I mentioned it, which is, why didn't they go with the Hardy Boys, man? I read some of those books. I just don't understand it, but oh well.
I think, don't they have one of those in development already, though? I might be misremembering, but I thought that was a show actually already in development somewhere, too.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't remember that. It wouldn't surprise me.
I guess maybe I'm just speaking out of my ear. Check back later. I got a moment here. Maybe I'll do a quick Google on it.
You also want one. That's all you're saying is you think they should do that. I agree, Kevin. All right. A new show that apparently is from a book series called The Wheel of Time is coming out. And Wendy's got some news about that.
Yeah, this is coming to Amazon Prime. And we have a link to the, quote, official teaser trailer. I actually saw this on the big screen as well. It looks pretty good in terms of quality. It's going to premiere November 19th. So right around Thanksgiving. Looks pretty interesting. I'm still interested in this story and planning to watch. The trailer didn't change my mind one way or another. It didn't sort of increase my anticipation. It just reaffirmed my anticipation.
It's interesting you said that it looks like it's good quality, because one of the things I thought of when I saw the teaser trailer was, well, first of all, I thought, well, there's not enough information here for me to know whether I'm going to watch it or even like it. Or even watch it. That's the way I should phrase that. But also, there were some scenes in there, and maybe it was just because it was, they're doing the trailers and the teasers before all the post-production is done, where I was thinking to myself, that looks pretty B-movie-ish, pretty cheap and not good high production quality. But, that might just be because they haven't finished all the post-production. So I'll wait for another full trailer, instead of just going off of the teaser trailer. But, it is an interesting concept, but I just want to see more before I commit to it.
Yeah, no, I was very pleased with what I saw story-wise. I wasn't paying as much attention to some of the detail as Brent mentions, quality-wise. But this is a story I'm learning a little more about, knowing that it's coming, and very interested. The trailer did a very positive job. And again, we've got a date coming up in November, so I know I will be there checking it out.
All right, and a new show that I'm not sure I heard about. Maybe we reported about it before, but guys, we're getting older, so sometimes we forget about this stuff. But there's a new show coming to Sci-Fi. They've cast the series leads for Astrid and Lily Save the World, and those leads are Samantha. God, I pronounce that name like Kevin does. Samantha O'Coin is going to play Lily, who apparently is a sweet-natured and intuitive with a passion for investigative photography. Think Jimmy Olsen, I guess. Jana Morrison is going to play Astrid, who is a bold and unfiltered with a knack for science-y gadgets. So apparently the two of them are going to vanquish creepy creatures and save the world and become the badass heroes of high school. So it's a little bit of Buffy-ish kind of thing in there. I was pleased to see that it looks like they didn't cast the typical CW incredible, hot, sexy, thin, perfect, teenage or early 20s actors for all these roles. I think that's really great that they've cast real people that look like real people. And also, this is going to be for 10 episodes apparently. And, they've written the pilot episode and they're set to start production this fall. So it's coming to Sci-Fi. So Astrid and Lily Save the World.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Brent, in the sense that I don't recall hearing anything about this until I saw this article. So I think this is the first time we've talked about it here on the podcast. And two real thoughts. Number one, as you pointed out, this looks like it could be kind of quirky, fun, different from some of the shows we've seen. So that's a big thumbs up and possibilities. And two, Sci-Fi I don't think they're spending near the money they used to for promoting some of their stuff. Because, the fact we're not hearing about these things sometimes till they're well into production, maybe this is their new business model. Wait until we're very close to release. Because that happened with some of the other stuff, even like Chucky. They were very late in the game before we got a lot of press stuff on it. So, but this was interesting. And it looks like it's got a setup and a story type that could make for some fun, looking at 2023. So, we got some time, but I'll be paying more attention to it now that I know it's out there.
Yeah, this does look interesting. It could be fun. Hopefully it will have kind of that nice combination of quirk and humor and action. I like that they kind of picked two young actors that are sort of nobodies, and it's going to be filmed in Canada, which always makes me encouraged for getting that slightly off-kilter kind of vibe as well.
Yeah, Kevin, you mentioned 2023, and I just had to look at the article again. There's no mention of that. Their production this fall, so I would imagine 2022, wouldn't you? You
would. And yeah, I meant to say 2022. Years are all merging together. I'm old. Give me a break.
I thought I missed something. All right, that's good to know.
Get off my lawn.
All right, I'll get off your lawn. If you get off my lawn. All right, moving on. A show that Kevin does love, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. There's some cool news.
Oh, there sure is. We got that official news. We kind of teased it or said, we got some hopeful stuff that wasn't official about us getting a wrap-up movie. Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist is going to get a, movie-length show, episode, movie, describe it how you will, but it's coming to the Roku channel. And they did officially announce it'll be happening sometime around Christmas. So, December-ish. We'll have to wait to see a specific date. If you want to follow the link in the show notes, it looks like they have the whole main cast coming back. And, the other thing to raise a positive eyebrow that is in here is that, as was previously reported, if this does pretty well, ratings-wise, buzz-wise, it could lead to more of the show. So, great to see, with all the streamers out there, some of them taking a shot at some of our very niche, quirky kind of things. So, the fact that we're going to get a wrap-up, or at least a chance to have another fun, maybe around 90 minutes worth of the show, is wonderful. If it leads to anything more, hey, that'll just be a nice cherry on top for the holidays.
Yeah, this was great news to get. I really wasn't actually expecting it. I was thinking it was a long shot. So I'm very happy that we're going to get a wrap-up thing from Roku. And, maybe it'll pull a Veronica Mars and go from having kind of a wrap-up movie to having another season on Roku.
Yeah, I'm very happy for Zoe's playlist fans, and that might be one of me eventually, because that is a show I want to catch up on and get up to speed on. Kevin and Wendy, both of you, I think I remember reading that the Roku streaming service had an option to watch these things with ads for free, right? So I don't think you have to subscribe to it. Is that correct?
I believe you are correct. Roku doesn't have a paid or premium level, so I believe you might, worst case, have to create one of those accounts to access their service, but I don't believe there's going to be any fees.
Awesome. Okay, and a show that I am actually watching now, Wendy, Doom Patrol. I actually am almost through season 1. Has a trailer for season 3 that Wendy's going to share with us.
Yeah, we'll have a link in the show notes to the official trailer for season 3. I'm so excited that you are catching up. And you still have plenty of time. Well, sufficient time for Brent because he's a power watcher. Season 3 is coming on the 23rd of September, and I'm definitely planning to stay current on this one.
Yeah, I might be a power watcher, but I have to admit I started watching Doom Patrol season 1 about 2 weeks ago, and I've only gotten through about 6 episodes, so I'll try to speed it up. But I'm enjoying it.
Good.
I like it. I like the format and the style. It's on HBO Max for me, which is for everybody. I imagine they're watching the old seasons, but my trouble with that is I don't go to HBO Max. It's not something I go visit. I visit Hulu every single day, multiple times a day sometimes, because that's where my DVR service and my Live TV is. And I watch I check my DVR and stuff like that. I occasionally browse through Netflix, and then I have to go to Amazon to watch the Star Trek shows. But HBO Max is just never in my mind. I have to consciously be thinking to myself, it usually hits me to go back and watch that show when I'm completely bored. There's nothing to watch, and I'm thinking to myself, what can I do? And I'm like, oh yeah, HBO Max is a thing that exists, and I go look at it. So it's a struggle.
I hear you on that, for sure. It's not the first channel I go to.
Yeah, this is not a show that I've watched. I did see that there was a trailer. I do see some friends mentioning it, so kind of skimmed through it. It just didn't really kind of click with me, but again, good to see, got some content and get an idea of what's coming on that side. Looping back to something earlier in the podcast, I did look it up. The Hardy Boys actually is already a show. It airs on Hulu. Season 1 is already aired on Hulu, and season 2 is coming in 2022.
What?
Well, there you go.
How come I don't ever get that one pushed at me?
I got nothing. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I think the reason it kind of stuck that it was an actual show was because Melanie Scrofano mentioned that she was directing a couple episodes in the upcoming season.
So I know that it's set in the same book universe. Is it set in the same TV universe? Do you know?
I got nothing. No idea.
Very interesting. Kevin, by the way, on Doom Patrol, if we go back to the topic at hand, after watching what I've watched in season 1, just after the first episode and the first 2 episodes, I think you would like this show. I really do. The trailers don't really seem to my mind, I watched the trailers too, even for season 1, season 2, and I haven't looked at season 3 yet because I'm watching the show now, so I don't want to be spoiled. But they didn't tell me that that's show that this is the show. The show I'm watching, the trailers didn't tell me that. The trailers were promoting some other kind of show that I never really got that interested in. But as soon as I started watching it, because because Wendy was speaking highly of it, I realized this is a really good show, and it's got some people in here, Kevin, that from Firefly as well. So I think you would enjoy it. I'm not going to say it's really good or really, really good, but there are some really cool characters and storylines and relationships and action, and I think you would like it.
Yeah, it's very much in the wheelhouse of the Umbrella Academy.
Which is something I haven't watched.
Oh, okay. That could explain it.
I haven't, no, seriously, I've heard Wendy mentioning strong things but I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I watched the trailers and it doesn't seem to grab me. So that's interesting. Maybe I should at least give an episode a try then.
Give an episode a try.
Yeah, I definitely did not watch the show because of any trailer that I saw. I watched the show similar to what Brent was just saying, how sometimes I turn on HBO Max because there's nothing else to turn on. And I remembered, we've had listeners, also other friends in the genre world who have told me how much they like Doom Patrol, and I was like, let's try it. And I got engaged right away.
Yeah, absolutely. Trailers didn't do anything for me. Watching the first episode, I was like, okay, I'm in. All right, we've got some casting news for a couple of shows, Batwoman and Star Trek Picard. So if you're sensitive to that sort of thing, go ahead and skip forward a few minutes. Up on Batwoman is a name that got Kevin very excited when he heard it, which is Bridget Regan. Got me excited too. I enjoyed her quite a bit. I was introduced to her in Legend of the Seeker. But she's going to play Poison Ivy in season 3 of Batwoman. I don't know if that's going to get me to watch Batwoman, but I do enjoy Bridget Regan, and Poison Ivy is a character that's been fascinating to me ever since I've learned of her. For the Star Trek Picard side of things, Annie Wersching, who is another actor I love. I enjoyed her in the more recent one with Holly Berry, that TV show. She was in that as well. She's going to play the Borg Queen in season 2 of Star Trek Picard. And some people were like, oh no, they've recast it. Well, they've recast it like 3 times. So in TV and movies. So she isn't the first recasting of that character. And I think she will be awesome in that role. But I do have to point out what I pointed out in Discord. The only true Borg Queen to me is 7 of 9.
Yeah, to say I got excited when they announced the Bridget Regan stuff is an understatement. I mean, as you've heard, if you're someone who's been paying attention to the discussions, Wendy and I have been having, Batwoman has really come a long way, and I'm really getting comfortable. So adding Bridget, whoa, that could be a lot of fun seeing her, especially as Poison Ivy here. Several members of the Batwoman cast were at DragonCon last weekend, and a couple of folks naturally asked about this, and they mentioned, they're excited. They're, looking forward to having her come in. It's not like she's going to be in every episode or even early in the season. But, they've mentioned it's been great so far seeing what's going to be happening. And Annie Wersching, I remember her recently and loving her in, she was good as one of the bad guys on Timeless. So have to see how that comes together.
Yeah, she was really good in Timeless. I always immediately think of 24 when I think of her, but she's a very solid actor. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing her on Picard. And Bridget Regan, yeah, I wouldn't have immediately thought of her for Poison Ivy, but I'm hoping they'll figure out a way to make her at least a recurring character. I think seeing her, mix it up maybe with Alice a lot, that could be really interesting.
All right, we'll see. And looking forward here to a show that's now available on Netflix, Lucifer, the final season, I guess. There's an article that Kevin's going to talk about.
Yeah, it's a link to TV Line. It's a brief article, but also there's a video there, about a 5-minute one, with your 2 leads here, Tom Ellis, Lauren German, talking about the show, kind of leading into the season a little bit. I didn't watch all of it since I've just started to watch the final season, so I only dabbled with a minute or so of it, but it's kind of fun because it's them talking about it and some clips from the previous season. So if you haven't started to watch Lucifer yet, you might want to have some fun looking at this first going in.
Yeah, it was fun. I don't think it was spoilery really at all. Other than them talking about, I think it literally is the opening scene from the first episode. It was just fun to hear the 2 actors talking about working on the show again and shooting the location that they were shooting in and stuff. It was just a great little gem to get as Lucifer kicks off.
Yeah. I don't even think I'm going to watch it until maybe later because I'm so busy watching the series right now, the season. And by the way, I just want to point out, my wife has got us all beat. As soon as it premiered, as soon as she woke up, she didn't do it at midnight, but as soon as she woke up the next day, she started watching the final season of Lucifer, and she didn't stop until it was done and went to bed. So she has seen the entire thing in one gulp.
Wow, she's putting us to shame.
Yeah.
She's going to have to do she's going to be like a correspondent for us or something. Record some video, or audio input some.
Roving binger.
No, she won't. She will not do that.
Oh, no.
All right. Well, the last article we've got here is one that Wendy's going to share with us about the cast of Star Trek Strange New World.
Yeah, we'll have a link to a video of the cast members introducing themselves and the names of their characters. Some will be quite familiar to folks from Discovery, and, we already know Anson Mount, of course, will be playing Pike. Ethan Peck will be playing Spock, and Rebecca Romaine will be playing number 1. I'm just going to tease that we get Uhura and Nurse Chapel and some other folks to round out the crew, but this was very fun, and I love the vibe that they're creating around this show. This looks like a really fun cast that I think will definitely translate on screen. So this was a lot of fun to see.
It's probably, actually, I was going to say it's probably controversial, but it's not. I am far more excited to see this show than I am to see any other Star Trek that's out there. Even Picard, even with 7 of 9 in it. But, this show is that's the Star Trek that I fell in love with. That's what I saw. I didn't see it first run because unfortunately I was, a newborn when it premiered. But I saw it in reruns in the 70s, the TOS show. So I want to go back to that era again. That's why I love Discovery season 1 and season 2, actually. One of the reasons I loved them. But I want to go back there. So I'm super excited for this one. So, I cannot wait.
Yeah, obviously anything short of an actual trailer oftentimes is, doesn't mean much to me for some, show coming, but for this one, absolutely. Just like both of you said, seeing these folks with just a quick minute or so to tell us who they're going to be, and obviously being such recognizable names, that we're familiar with. Again, kind of like Brent, TOS is the one I was watching them almost every day after school for years and years. So, and knowing some of these characters we got to see early in Discovery, coming over to here, again, same thing. Very, very excited for this. And I think as Wendy might have mentioned with the Picard, and when it's going to be airing, it'll probably lead in very closely to this. So that could be just, plus Discovery coming at the end of this year. It's going to be several months of, fingers crossed, what could be some great, hoping for great, Star Trek content.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I like about what they're doing with Star Trek is they're kind of, bend, don't break it, I think, between the humor that is on Lower Decks, but the references to, and being set in the next gen universe. Picard, I love. To me, it's a bold concept and it's very character focused, which is very much not Star Trek, traditional Star Trek. And then Discovery, in the beginning, I think it really was trying to have a lot of traditional nods to the original series. And then in the most recent season, I think they're trying to carve their own path, which is why I'm excited for this show, because this show is very much a nod to the original series. And I like that they're making room for all of those things a lot.
Yeah, and if you aren't aware, this is basically a prequel to the TOS series. This is following the crew of the Enterprise before Kirk came on board, so really cool stuff. All right, and speaking of really cool stuff, Kevin, it's time for Kevin to give us a recap of DragonCon 2021.
Yeah, I thought I'd catch folks up kind of briefly. For those who are unaware, this year with DragonCon and, the state of the world, the pandemic and all, last year obviously was postponed, as almost everything was. So this year for DragonCon 2021, very much looking forward to it. Things were looking great early in the spring and the summer, as many of us know. And then, based on what happened with COVID, things got a little, iffy, but DragonCon 2021 did occur in person. The con, like now many other cons are announcing, really took some, good safety steps. Everybody who attended had to show proof of vaccination or take a COVID test within 72 hours of arrival. Masking at all times indoors. The attendance at the convention was limited to half years past. Rooms where events were held, celebrity panels, fan discussion panels were limited to 2/3 of their normal capacity to create more space. So, the con certainly did as much as possible to make it as safe as it could be. And it was a great time. After 2 years away from cons, for someone like me who is a big con goer and enjoys it, it was wonderful to be back and see folks again. So that was really kind of cool, fall back into the routine and all. So yeah, it was really nice. Got a chance to talk on several fan discussion panels, Ragnarok, Lucifer, Nancy Drew, Motherland, Buffy, Winona Earp, Stargirl, Legends of Tomorrow. My usual thing where I love to dive all in, was a blast. So we've got recordings of a couple of those we'll be releasing on the podcast feed in the coming weeks, or a couple months. for folks who want to get a chance to hear some of that. I'm going to, the one thing I will highlight of those fan panels, if you are a Buffy fan, you don't want to miss that panel, because what this was an idea I came up with now almost 2 years ago that I suggested to Carol Malcolm, the director of the Urban Fantasy Track, where I'm now the assistant director, where we did, for Buffy, we had 7 panelists. Each person picked their favorite season and had about 5 minutes to make their case for why it is the best season of Buffy. And then the crowd voted at the end. So everyone kind of came in with a plan. You know, folks were very excited and tried to use some seasons, as many of you know, if you're fans, that maybe aren't considered the best, to, you know, kind of spin things so they were, or knock someone else's thoughts on their season. It was a really fun interactive panel. Sometimes you have that at DragonCon that just really hit it well. Great panelists. So again, if you're a Buffy fan, that one will be highly recommended to listen to, because it was a blast to be a part of it. So that's one of those things at DragonCon that always, you know, you never know which fan panels are just really going to hit. And that one certainly did. I didn't get a chance to go, now being a volunteer on the Urban Fantasy Track, to many cast panels. I saw just a tiny bit of one of the Batwoman ones, but it was very well attended there. I saw Felicia Day running around. I know she had a great time at her stuff. So it was just fun to be back. You know, hoping the world keeps going in a better direction so more folks can come back next year.
I'm so glad it worked out for you and Carol and Kelly to attend. I had been planning to attend through about the end of June, but the numbers were not going in the right direction for me. So had to take a pass. But I definitely miss being on panels with you, Kevin, in Carol's track. You know, some of them have ended. iZombie. Maybe we'll get to talk about Lucifer next year together again on a panel. I'm definitely looking forward to the Buffy panel. I gotta ask, which season did you pick, and was season 6 voted the most hated?
I picked season 2. That's always been my fave. So that's the one that I, you know, championed. In terms of which one is the winner, I'm just going to, you know, tease and say you're going to have to listen to find out.
No, I didn't want to know who won, which one won. Season 2, solid choice. I like that choice. I just wanted to know if season 6 was voted the most hated, because I hear the most flack about season 6.
It does tend to get a lot of flack, but again, the thing I like is the person presenting for that season, much like for season 1, which is only half as many episodes, and we know definitely rough around the edges. Those folks believed in it, and they gave a good case for it. So we didn't, beyond allowing the audience to vote for the winner, we didn't really get enough time with 7 panelists to get to in the hour to be able to go to some of those fun choices like you mentioned. It would have been nice if we had the time.
Nice.
Well, you know, the best season was the season with Nathan Fillion and Felicia Day, so it had to be 7. Just saying. But Kevin, I'm really glad that it came together for you guys. I know that it's a big event for a lot of people who are, you know, very devoted fans to genre. I have an important question though. I know that DragonCon is world famous for its parade of cosplayers. Did that happen?
Yes, it did. And this year what they did is, normally that's the largest parade in Atlanta all year long. But this year, again, for safety reasons, only folks who were attendees of DragonCon could attend the parade. They didn't allow the general public. So for those who were con goers, they were able to get even better spots to watch it. But yes, I caught a little bit of the parade. I was speaking on some panels, so it's up on YouTube, folks. It also airs on the CW affiliate in Atlanta every year too. So it's available to take a look at. But yeah, the DragonCon parade is again world famous there. So definitely worth a look. Some pretty amazing costumes. I saw a lot this year. Kind of one of the most popular ones, you know, surprise anyone here listening, was Loki, especially the female Loki. That was one of the more popular costumes, along with Robin from Stranger Things, because it's been a couple of years since the cons happened. Saw a lot of that. And some different takes on the Loki stuff. You know, some folks just went, much like we saw in the episodes when there were lots of variants, they created their own in typical DragonCon fashion. A lot of fun to see.
Well, like the actor said, even you, if you have a bicycle, a handlebar, can play Loki in a cosplay parade. So.
And the perfect one, and maybe if I find it, I'll put the link in the show notes. There was a woman who was cosplaying as the female Loki. She looked very good in her costume, but she was pushing around an airline cart, like you'd see a stewardess. And on the side of the cart was the Delta Airlines logo. She was the Delta variant.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, my. All right.
That's a Dragon Con cosplay.
Got it. All right. Well, we're going to round up the water cooler with a Tuner Minute as always. This one was recorded by Kevin. It's entitled Revisiting Binge Spoilers.
At Dragon Con last weekend, I had the opportunity to moderate a panel talking about TV release models, naturally binge versus weekly. And it was a good discussion talking about the benefits and drawbacks, the different models and so forth. Excellent conversation. Many of the things we've touched on here in podcasts and Tuner Minutes. But the part that got folks going the most will surprise probably none of you in the I hate being spoiled if I go on social media, because many folks have the time to watch shows very quickly while others don't. So that did turn into a very interesting conversation about some ideas folks had on how to try to avoid those spoiler sites. So I'm just wondering now, as we revisit this topic from time to time, if you have in any way changed your approach so that you can try to avoid spoilers, if that's what you like to do. Not everyone's a Brent who enjoys them. When it comes to not finding out too much about the shows that maybe you can't watch as fast as others.
By revisit, do you mean like avoid social media? Because that's definitely something I do.
You probably had there's probably something you do, we all do, if we're going to avoid it. But has that changed? Have you found a better way to not be spoiled?
Actually, my tolerance for spoilers is much higher now that my memory's going so bad. Because if I'm only sort of half paying attention to to either the ad, the snippet, or whatever, the spoilage doesn't really bother me. And because I'm like, yeah, I probably won't remember this. And I don't know if I'm actually mentally sort of discarding the spoilage, because it doesn't bother me to know things when I go into watching stuff anymore, as much as it used to in the past. Now that's obviously for shows that are not sort of my most involved, most beloved series, because for anything like that, I generally am watching fairly quickly, unless there's, out of town or some situation that's going to stop me from watching it timely. But definitely social media in general, I will stay away from, certain things, Twitter, if I haven't seen something that I'm pretty confident is going to be talked about quite a bit. But other than that, I haven't really done too much.
Yeah, as you pointed out, I don't care about spoilers. They don't bother me at all. In fact, I quite enjoy them. I take a different approach to it. I understand the spoiler phobes, because they want to have that experience of learning about something for the very first time. I get that, but that's not me. To my mind, it's the experience that I enjoy of seeing it unfold, even if I know what's going to happen, right? I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the Lord of the Rings movies. I had read the Lord of the Rings books before. I was spoiled on it, but I still thoroughly enjoyed them. And it's the same with like most recent Marvel movie, the Ten Rings movie. Disney Plus, Marvel decided not to put it out for premiere access and only in theaters. I haven't gone to theaters in over 10 years, and I don't ever plan on going back ever, for anything. So I have to wait until it comes out on Disney Plus. But the day it came out, there were videos coming out about, here's a summary of the movie, and here are the Easter eggs and things you might have missed in the movie. And I watched all those videos, and that's not going to diminish at all my enjoyment of watching that movie when it comes out on Disney Plus. So, I know I'm hijacking this time, Kevin, to explain why I love spoilers and why they don't bother me, but and not answer your question. But it doesn't apply to me, so I don't really have an answer.
Well, no, your answer is actually part of it, though, in the sense that the thing I've certainly seen, a little bit like Wendy, I've gotten more tolerant. I mean, I really was one of those persons before that. I mean, I'd be plugging my ears and doing anything. I didn't want anything. I somehow thought even the smallest bit of info was going to ruin it for me. And that's not the case. So I've definitely learned to be a little more forgiving. But I've also, and one of the things that came out in the conversation was that some folks said, it also applies to the fact that there's, 500 shows. You can't watch all the ones you have an interest in. So you might just be inadvertently spoiled on something by a friend 3 weeks later because you haven't got to that show that's 10th on your list. So as most folks said, they have to decide now, a little more proactively decide which shows are they really concerned about them for. And if they can't watch them right away, then yes, like Wendy said, or any of us, got to avoid some social media and so forth. I mean, you've got to be a little, calculating, maybe more so than maybe there was just one or two shows before and maybe you had a busy weekend so you didn't get to it. But it has changed so that they've said they've had to be a little more proactive, a little more planning in what they do there. One of them, and the other thing that kind of came out, and it was kind of funny, but it kind of made some sense when it came into the conversation at the panel, is someone mentioned that, they don't want to stay off social media. They're involved with a lot of friends and other things there. But if they can't watch like Lucifer, which was out this weekend, they're concerned. But they said that what they do is they need to wear glasses. So when they're looking on the computer, they don't wear their glasses. So therefore, everything's a little fuzzy. So they have to skim things. And if they catch that it's probably that word Lucifer, they can just avoid that easily. But if it's something more important from a friend, they'll put their glasses on and read that part. So they kind of using that as their way to not get as spoiled as much, which just had me chuckling. So yes, if you can squint more or maybe look on a higher part of the screen as you scroll through Facebook or Twitter. So it was just funny that so many conversations about how we all are interacting and doing this. But it really is, there's so much content and so many other ways for it to come in. You've got to decide. You can't say, no, I won't learn about anything. Otherwise, you're going to have to become that hermit and just sit in your, your virtual room, whatever it might be. It's just kind of the way the world works nowadays.
Yeah. Last weekend I was with some friends, so I haven't seen in a while. And we were talking about, kind of catching up on who watches what. And one of the things I was very conscious of was describing things as non-spoilery as possible for them because they hadn't caught up on stuff. And I realized anymore I can't assume people have seen really anything. So I'm definitely a lot more likely to be very high level when I talk about shows. And I would say more aware of the possibility of spoiling people than I used to be.
I have two more things to add about this. I just realized they're very relevant. One is a quick little example that was kind of cute from yesterday. Yeah, yesterday, right? Because that's when Lucifer premiered. To just demonstrate my total not caring about spoilers, I was down making dinner for myself, and it took like 25 minutes to prepare and bake it and all that stuff. And during that course of that time, my wife said, I'm not, you might want to leave because I'm not stopping watching Lucifer because I'm watching all day long. And so I said, I don't care. And so she basically played episode 2 for me before I'd even seen episode 1. And it didn't bother me. I didn't care. I even rewatched episode 2 when I watched it on my own later on that evening. But the other thing I wanted to point out is I actually do have a situation where I need to avoid spoilers. I totally forgot about that. I blind react to some shows. Right now it's the Marvel What If series. So the last week and this most recent week, I haven't been able to watch What If when it premiered. Usually I watch it within an hour and react to it, or at least record my reaction. And these last 2 times, I haven't been able to do it for a couple of days after. And I do have to avoid the spoilers because I want to be honest with my viewing audience that I'm giving them a blind reaction. So that means I can't know anything really about what's happening except maybe the title or something. So what I've done is I have feeds and subscriptions for people who also react to or comment on Marvel things like What If. And when I come across suggestions for these, I have to intentionally avoid looking at the thumbnail because there are some people out there on the internet, and I'll get suggested these. I don't subscribe to them, but I get suggested these who are real a-holes and like to put spoilery things in thumbnails, like totally spoil things that are supposed to be a big surprise. So I do a very good job in the case of the What If, especially. I look at the titles first, and if it's What If, I don't look at the thumbnail. And then what I do is if I think it's one I want to watch, I open it up in a tab, and then I move all of those tabs into another window, Kevin, and I leave it running minimized on my computer for days until I actually watch it, and then I'll go back and watch those. So that's the only thing I do, and it's for the blind reactions.
And I think that's a great example of how we've now, depending on how we're consuming the media, what our universe is it beyond the aired content to, like you said, reactions to podcasts, to articles, to friends' comments, it's all something we're dealing with. So that's why I'm curious. I mean, it's been a while since we kind of went back to the how do I try to get around spoilers? So if any of you folks have kind of developed an idea or an approach or whatever, I got to say that idea of kind of not focusing as much on the crawl of your timeline. It's so silly, but actually I tried it and it was like, okay, I'm kind of only looking in certain spots to avoid that. That might work for me long term. We'll see. I'll get a headache from squinting too much.
All right. Let us know, folks, how you deal with avoiding spoilers, or if you really even do. Share some stories. The stories I heard here from my co-hosts are pretty awesome. I'd like to hear yours. But we're going to head on over now to the spoiler-filled back porch. Today we talk about Legends of Tomorrow, Evil, What If, and What We Do in the Shadows. First up on the back porch, we're going to talk about Legends of Tomorrow, the final 2 episodes of this season. Kevin's going to kick us off.
Yes, I am. And I'm not really going to get deep into the plots. We've touched on, I know I certainly have a few times this season, and in terms of my enjoyment for season 6, definitely, and kind of where the show has been. And, I just wanted to kind of button it up, being this is the finale for this season. I mean, season 7 premieres in like less than 6 weeks. I mean, we're going to have one of the shortest breaks ever with the way that CW moved this from a summer to a fall show and so forth. I thought we finished out pretty good. I was very pleased, really enjoyed the final episode. Well, we got the Avalance wedding. Been looking forward to that. I liked the approach of how that felt very much to me like the way Legends would approach things. We've got what looks could be the end of a world apocalypse with the aliens and all coming, but we're still going to find a way to pull off a wedding. And also that to me is a little more to the core of why I enjoy Legends. Meaning when you look at everything that's happening in an episode, you go, that is never going to happen, but it did on Legends. So, it finished pretty good. I'm very much in a positive state looking forward to season 7. Boy, was it up and down, I thought, with some of the stuff that we had this year. I wasn't a big fan of Bishop as the big bad there. I was okay for the first few episodes, the whole clone timeline, what happened with Sarah, but bringing it back, not sure it worked real well. As some folks reminded me at the Legends of Tomorrow fan discussion panel at DragonCon, again, this season for every show, trying to shoot around the safety protocols with COVID meant difficulty bringing in additional characters you might have wanted, having folks back who are already on, therefore, were aware of the protocols and have been cleared at different times and all, meant that for a few of our shows, if you step back and look at it, they ran with smaller casts this year. So maybe that was a big part of what kind of didn't work as well, was them going back to this. But, the changes that are happening with what Mick appears to be leaving, with Constantine character, although not the actor, written off because he's going off to do other movies or whatever it is, the properties there, is going to make for some fresh approaches. That's something I've enjoyed every season. They always are willing to try with some new characters and so forth. Unfortunately, this is a season where I don't think it hit as much as previous seasons did, but still love the show, so I'm looking forward to 7.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of your comments about the season overall. The clone story was okay. I thought it dragged out too much. So I didn't love that they brought, I can't remember his name, brought him back. Sorry. I really actually liked the Constantine, Zari relationship, or Zari 2.0 relationship. I didn't love the whole Constantine story, but I liked that relationship a lot. It was that and probably, the Sarah Ava relationship were the two that I've enjoyed this season the most. Wedding was definitely a highlight, and especially, expected that there would be some kind of kerfuffle happening during the wedding. The Mick Rory storyline really didn't work for me. I don't know, was it supposed to be funny? Was it supposed to be poignant that the sort of really tough guy kind of, became Mr. Mom? I don't know. It didn't work for me. And I really liked that character, especially early on when he was paired with Captain Cold and that whole dynamic. So that didn't land as well as I would have hoped. I really like the actor who plays Constantine, so I'm happy that we're going to see him in a whole new character. it was pretty interesting to see the ship get blown up at the end. Classic Legends, sort of wipe your hands on one problem and step into something even bigger. I was reading online, it said that it looked like the Wave Rider actually blew up the Wave Rider, so I'm hoping that means timey-wimey stuff next season. Because, I don't know, Aliens was okay, but I still like this show a little bit more when it's focused more on the time travel element.
Yeah, the time travel elements, obviously for me, being a time travel fan, is what I really liked. And yeah, it was a Wave Rider class ship at least. I'm sure they had multiple ships that looked the same, but it could have been the same ship. It could be timey-wimey thing. I don't know. But Kevin, I totally agree. And I think, Woody, you were kind of hinting at this too. The Bishop character, this didn't do it for me. In fact, he was a negative for me. Every time he would be in the show, I would just kind of tune out and go, God, this is so boring and bad. And why are they even bothering with this? So I didn't like him at all. So the highlight of his character was being eaten alive by mixed kids. So, that was obviously the best part of his character. The first episode in this 2-episode pairing, I thought I gave it a higher rating than the second one. I think I gave it a low watch it now because, even though that character, is not one that I really ever kind of attached to, I really dug her story with, discovering her life and her past and struggling with trying to save her mother and the relationship between the two. And I really dug that. I liked it a lot. The final episode, I think they tried to cram too much. I mean, Legends is always a little zany and off the wall, but they tried to do too much, I think, in this episode. And it kind of, I think you talked about how the wedding was done in kind of a Legends way, but I think they kind of overshadowed it a little bit. Maybe that was with good reason. Maybe they didn't think that just an episode that kind of focused on that or had that as a main feature, didn't feel like Legends either. I don't know. But, I kind of liked how it tied in with the defeat of the aliens. And also the ability, to transfer the powers from one person to another during the battle. That was kind of cool. I really dug that. So, and where Rory's going, off with his kids and his mate, quote unquote, is, I think kind of cool. And somebody said it didn't really work for them, but I don't know. It kind of touched me a little bit, when you're seeing him with essentially his kids and he's like, I wasn't there for my daughter, but I'm going to be here for these kids and that sort of thing. And, I don't know. It was kind of touching. So I enjoyed it.
The Wonder Group powers was cool. I agree.
All right. And a show that, Wendy is watching and I think I gave up on and I don't think Kevin's ever been watching is Evil. And she's going to talk about, some season 2 episodes.
Yeah. I just wanted to, mention this season, they are really leaning into the whoa, twisted weird. It's American Horror Story end of the pool at this point. There's some really crazy stuff going on. With the main character, Kristen, I mentioned previously she's done some truly dark things. Her mother is now definitely gone into she's essentially become sort of cultishly performing all these rituals that I think are intended to sort of take the children at some point. And she's really weird and scary. And the husband, but dad, who has not been in the story, showed up, and I was expecting him to be sort of problematic because the series has kind of implied that up to this point. But MIA Dad Returns has a very strange, weird, reconnect with his wife. And the other thing that I thought was very interesting about his return was basically he had big hugs for the kids, and then we don't really see him interact with the kids again. So I'm going to be curious how they develop that going forward. But the most recent episode had an interesting concept, which was this brain. I'll call it a machine. It's a little headset that people put on. And it's supposed to sort of tap into the spiritual, realm that all of our brains are supposedly able to tap into. And you kind of experience maybe some hard truths or something. And Kirsten definitely had some crazy experiences. You're supposed to sort of see God or whatever your version of that is and sort of deal with yourself. So I would be really curious if we have any listeners that are watching Evil to chime in, either, send us a voicemail, an email, pop by on Discord, because I'm really curious what other people are taking away from this show at this point. For me, it's really kind of, I'm not sure where the story's going, but the weirdness keeps ratcheting up every week.
Definitely sounds weird.
I didn't even talk about the crazy elevator episode.
Oh.
It's basically an elevator to hell.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like the show I stopped watching, but definitely sounds weird.
Yeah, that's why I said it's in the American Horror Story realm of oddness.
Excellent. All right, yeah, let Wendy know. Let us know. I want to talk about What If, the most recent 2 episodes, the Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands, and the Zombies episode. And just once again, I must point out, as we pointed out last time we met, Kevin really should be watching this. He's not, but he really should be. It's canon MCU. The animation is very clean, almost real life. Like the actors in almost every case who portray the characters in the real life are portraying them in here. So he really should be watching it, but he's not. So maybe we should all encourage him to do so. Go to Discord and tell him. Harass him, please, but kindly. Doctor Strange was a very good episode. Like I said, I might consider it my favorite of the season. I'm not sure, because it was such a incredible, tragic story. It's like it's almost like a classical, epic that's being told here, where Doctor Strange loses his love, learns magic to deal with his pain, gets a hold of the Time Stone, decides to go ahead and try to get her back, causing nonstop recursion and repetition, because the universe needs her to die, as the Ancient One comes in and tells him she's a fixed point, as we learned from Doctor Who, is a fixed point and can't be undone, and he refuses to accept that, so he goes into some really dark magic, absorbing all sorts of creatures' powers to become an uber powerful Doctor Strange. Has to even face off with himself, because at one point the Ancient One splits him in 2 to hopefully have somebody around who can defeat him. That Doctor Strange, the good one, fails, and the evil one destroys the universe. Basically, everything collapses around him, and he basically saves a tiny little sphere of the universe, and in there is his love, who then fades away because she can't exist in the universe. It doesn't want her to. And he's trapped alone in this little sphere for all eternity, or until he dies. This will also feature the first time the Watcher ever interacted with somebody. And it also early on, we saw that Doctor Strange was actually able to sense the Watcher being present, which nobody had ever done. But that was just a reflection on his power and his sensitivity, as being able to see more things than anybody else could at the time. And then interacting with him, that was just very powerful, where he's like, if I could intervene, if I could punish you, I would, but you can't interfere. So it's just great stuff. The zombie stuff was fun. It was just a romp. It was fun seeing the different characters as zombies. I really, really loved Hope Van Dyne in this one. I was really sad to see her get turned. Seeing the mirror of Vision and Wanda, where Vision lost Wanda to a zombieism, and then in his guilt and his bit of guilt, but his trauma, his grief, he basically started feeding people to her so she could survive, and then finally realizing he had done wrong, and realizing that the Mind Stone was the only hope for a cure, and sacrificing himself to not only pay for his sins of feeding live people to his essentially wife, right? But also, to give them the hope of the Mind Stone. He didn't want to leave her. She was still there. He wanted to die for what he had done, and he wanted to give the rest of the people hope. So he ripped out his own Mind Stone, which was just so powerful, to see. And the Hulk was awesome too. this one, it was just fun. It was crazy fun to see what would happen if that happened. And the Thanos thing at the end was interesting. I asked myself the question in my reaction, which as the time we're recording this, I have yet to publish, but I did record. I also asked the question of, okay, well, what's going to happen with Thanos? Because he's a zombie now. We see him at the end as a zombie holding the gauntlet with everything but the Mind Stone. And remember the events of Infinity War. That's what he went to Wakanda to get, and finish the whole thing. And he's a zombie now, but the zombies still had the same skills and knowledge, and in some cases maybe motivations, although their motivation was overruled by this motivation to devour, and to convert. So, what will happen if he does get cured? If they send out this wave that cures everybody and all of a sudden he's there with half the population potentially, or not half the population, but a lot of the population, destroyed, dead, because they were destroyed by the zombies. It's going to be easier, and half of the Avengers gone. It's going to be easier for him to take the Mind Stone, this time and do what he wanted to do. So everything's going to play out the way it's played out before. It's just missing some of the Avengers. Very interesting thoughts for what would happen next. But that's a great thing about What If. It gives you kind of a premise, and only in cases like the Doctor Strange one does it give you an ending. In a lot of cases, it gives you this sort of like, what happens next? I want to know, So I really enjoyed them.
Yeah, the zombie one, I'm just, I guess, zombied out. I do like your point though about the implications for Thanos that they introduced in that, in terms of, alternate paths, to possibly the same outcome of how many humans would be gone. I really did like the Doctor Strange episode. I like that character. I like that universe. So it was probably part of the reason why I would agree. I still like the Agent, Captain Carter one. It's still my favorite, but that's because she's probably my favorite character, Peggy. I really liked the story though. I thought they did a good job, and it wasn't a case of, that it was the most out of the box storytelling or anything, but it was really well done. I really like the idea that he was, had gotten split apart by, the master, and the part where he's devouring all the powerful beasts. It was really well done in showing just sort of that character, because the thing I always think about with Doctor Strange is that sort of laser focus without consideration of anything else. And he kind of went into that mode when he started devouring power in the library. And I also thought it was interesting that we had the Watcher coming off the sidelines in a bit, because that really kind of keyed us into how powerful Doctor Strange is. So I really enjoyed that one especially.
All right, I want to quickly round out with What We Do in the Shadows. I think I'm the only one that watches those. They returned for 3 episodes in this block that we're covering. And as I said in the quick reviews, they picked up right where they left off. They haven't lost a beat. It's still funny. It's not, slapstick. It's not every moment you're laughing. Not every moment is a joke. But when they have the jokes and the humor in there, it just blows me away. It's just, I find myself just chuckling and laughing out loud, and just some great stuff. And in this season, they're recovering from the end of the last season where they're, one of theirs familiar, who wanted to become a vampire and is actually a descendant of Van Helsing, they find out. The Vampiric Council, he killed some vampires, and the Vampiric Council holds the vampires in the house, the four of them, accountable. So they put them all on trial and then sentence them to death. And as they're about to execute them, Guillermo, their familiar / Van Helsing guy, goes in and kills the entire Vampiric Council. Just slaughters them all while the 4 of them watch. That was the end of last season. This season they pick up from that and try to figure out what they're going to do. They put Guillermo in a cell in the basement, And of course we find out, after they visit him that he, every day he just leaves because they're so clueless. He just gets out of the cell and goes out and does stuff. They give him raw chicken to eat. And he just throws it away and he goes out and gets a burger and fries, you know. It's just typical stuff for him. He really wants to help them and he wants to become a vampire. But he wants to play along too. So it's just really fun stuff. And then we find out at the end of the first season that the Worldwide Vampiric Council has decided that since they were so powerful and were able to destroy the other Vampiric Council in the Northeast New York especially region, I think it's New York and New Jersey region, that they have announced that these 4 are going to be the new Vampiric Council. And they promote them all and make them the rulers of the vampires in that region. So that's what episode 2 and 3 are all about. And episode 3, of course, was about a long-term girlfriend of one of them, and named Gail, who he's been trying to convert into a vampire, and she doesn't want it, but they find out she's actually a werewolf. So it's just hilarious stuff. You know, I mean, when they go to speak to the werewolves, I mean, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. They go to speak to the werewolves, and a car drives by and honks, and 3 of the werewolves run off and start howling after it, and one of the vampires looks at the camera, because remember, it's a mockumentary style, looks at the camera and goes, "Car." The humor is just dry and funny, and and visual. A lot of it is visual. A lot of stuff happens in the background. I love this show. If you guys aren't watching it, you should check it out.
Yeah, I did watch it, and I can't really remember why I stopped. I did enjoy it. Actually, I think the way I fell upon it was not because of your persuasion, but they were doing a marathon, I think, so I caught a bunch of episodes. And then I lost track of it. I guess I'll have to try to see if I can set a season pass for it.
I had the similar thing happen to me because I had recorded it on my dish, but I got rid of dish and switched to Hulu. And then I saw that these were already out, and I was like, oh, crap, I forgot to set a recording for it. So I had to go watch them. Fortunately, they were all on demand for me. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Drop by our Discord, please. Let us know what you think about all the things we talked about and anything else that you want to talk about. Thanks to Kevin and Wendy for being here, and I'll catch you next time.
Have a great week, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. We'll see you again soon.
If you'd like to contact us here at Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, we offer a wide variety of feedback options, including email at feedback@tuningintoscifitv.com, our voicemail at 706-927-8478, on Skype voicemail at Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, or you can visit our website at tuningintoscifitv.com to find the link to our forums, or to use the SpeakPipe widget to leave us a voice message. You can also find us on Twitter at twitter.com/tuningintosci-fi, or on Facebook at facebook.com/tuningintoscifitv.
The theme music for Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV is by Beatnik Turtle. Used with permission. Listen to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV on Stitcher Radio on Demand. Download the free app today at Stitcher.com. You've been listening to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, episode 586, recorded September 11th, 2021.